YouTube, how the heck you doing? This is Corey here with Watcher of Realms. This is going to be the ultimate free-to-play guide as to how you go ahead and play this game, how you progress in this game, and how you just go ahead and have a good time in this game. So fortunately, you are able to go ahead and complete every piece of content in this game without spending a single dollar. So what does that mean? You don't need to spend a dollar to go ahead and compete in Arena. You don't need to spend a dollar to compete in Guild v Guild. You don't even need to spend a dollar to go ahead and complete some of the hardest things such as Void Rift, Epilogue, or just do Void Rift or the campaign stages in general. You can play this game without dropping a single dollar. So let's just kind of go into it. If you're trying to go ahead and progress in this game and you've just started, the first thing that you need to go ahead and do is go ahead and complete the Volca missions. Whenever you go ahead and complete this, you are given a copy of Volca, who is actually one of the more better units in this game. Now, why is she good? Is mainly because she goes ahead and reduces the deployment time of your units with her A1, which is her Awaken 1. As you go through her additional Awakens, you get a lot of really good benefits overall for your units. In addition to that, her skills go ahead and provide additional healing and damage reduction for the units that she is fighting. So this is why she is such a good unit. You get additional copies of her from completing the Tide piece of content, which is right over here, right? You have Tide. So that's where you get the additional copies. You get her through different breakpoints by completing the Tide. I believe it's about every 10 stages or so. You kind of get some big rewards, and I believe every 25th stage is where you go ahead and get an additional copy of Volca. So that's the Volca missions. She's super useful. Try to go ahead and get her. Try to go and complete that piece of content as quickly as you can. And it'll give you a pretty good introduction into the game. It's like how it functions in general, right? So by doing that, you're going to go ahead and complete Gear Raids, which is kind of like the next topic. So first, you have Gear Raid 1, 2, 3, Gear Dungeon 1, and Gear Dungeon 2, right? Gear Dungeon 1 and Gear Dungeon 2 are really end game pieces of content, and you're not expected to go ahead and complete them within your first month, within your first 2 months, within your first 6 months, right? It's not that likely. However, just for a quick summation, right? Gear Dungeon 1 and 2 are where you go ahead and get some really good pieces of items, right? You get the ancient pieces, and you get a lot of additional, I guess, rewards by going ahead and completing it. But for the first point of this, we want to go over the Gear Raids. So Gear Raid 1, 2, and 3. Gear Raid 1 is where you go ahead and get your left side sets. The main ones that you want to go ahead and shoot for is really Warlord, which gives you 25% attack and attack speed 30. And you have Immortal Warrior, which gives you 25% HP and 10% defense. So as you can imagine, Immortal Warrior is your tank set, and then Warlord is your DPS set, right? Now, you also have some interesting other sets, which is going to be the Whirlwind set. Typically, you'll go ahead and see Whirlwind on your healers because attack speed is actually a really valuable stat for them. You don't really see Annihilating Might be used, mainly because Annihilating Might doesn't really translate to that much damage overall for your units in the grand scheme of things. Calamity is super good because Calamity can go ahead and be upgraded by using Spirit Material, and if it's an Ancient, you have to also use the 5 Booleans to go ahead and convert it over to being a Warlord piece. And then next one, we have Life Force. Life Force, similar to the Calamity, right? You go ahead, this is a tank piece. If you have the necessary amount of Spirit Material and the Booleans, if it's Ancient, you can upgrade it to the Immortal Warrior set. And then Salvation. Honestly speaking, no one really uses Salvation anymore just because Whirlwind is just typically a better piece, unless you're also going to just kind of swap over and use Warlord. In most cases, the healers in this game are attack based, so Warlord is typically the set that you want, at least left side wise. So Gear Raid 1 is, realistically speaking, a esoteric and cultist check, right? It's the AoE mage check. Do you have enough magic damage to go ahead and take out a significant amount of units that also have the ability to heal? That's where anti-heal comes in through units like Boreas, Artemis, Lysair are kind of like your main anti-heal based sources. So that is where those two factions kind of really shine. Once again, Esoteric and Cultist. Then you have Gear Rate 2. Gear Rate 2 is actually the most forgotten about and neglected stage, but it's honestly probably the most important one for PvP content, specifically Guild v Guild. The reason why is because of this piece, or this set. Ageless Wrath is the best set in this game for increasing BP. And we'll go into why BP is such an important thing for Guild v Guild later down the line, but just kind of remember that at the back of your mind. Ageless Wrath comes from Gear Rate 2, and it is the best piece for BP. Otherwise, you also have this piece, which is Invigoration, which is the best piece probably, in my opinion, in the game because of what it does. It gives you 25% or a 25 healing effect. No one really cares about that. That's not that big of a deal. It's really not that big of a deal. But what you get is, when deployed, the hero and one random ally in range gains 10% attack. That is so valuable because DPS is the main driving factor in this game. Having good TPS will go ahead and get you through 99% of the content, right? Yeah, the Styx. Styx is not good. No one really uses that. Night Terror. Night Terror is good because you can go ahead and upgrade it into Ageless Wrath. You also have Glacier. Glacier is kind of used for like your more bruiser units. There's not that many bruisers in this game. Honestly, I can't think of a real bruiser in this game in general, but the Glacier kind of gives you additional HP from the main stat with some good attack damage as a result based off the effect of the actual piece or set. You also have Curse. No one really uses Curse. Curse is not viable in any way, shape, or form right now. It's just not that good. And then you have Fatality, also kind of similar. It's just really not used overall in this game. And then Guardian. Guardian is definitely the best, well, now it's the second best right side set for tank units. However, if we're thinking about just strictly from gear raids, the Guardian set is the best tank set by far. Then you have Gear Raid 3. Gear Raid 3 is essentially like where you get your DPS items, right? So really quick, you get Infernal Roar, which is really good for a lot of the units that use basic attack damage. So what does that really mean? That means units like Silas, units like Vigilatu, units like Nocturne, units like Ingrid. Those are your Infernal Roar kind of hierarchy, right? Those are the units that really benefit from that particular set. Gives basic attack damage 40%, right? Then you also have Soulbound Arcana, which is kind of like the main set in this game. A lot of the units really do kind of lean towards using Soulbound Arcana. Also, part of the reason why is because it's broken right now. So the kind of set effect reads, after the ultimate is cast, damage increases by 10% permanently, stacking up to 5 times. That doesn't mean your unit needs to attack or needs to ult 5 times. It means 5 units need to use their ult. That's why it's broken, right? The description doesn't match the actual effect. So if you go ahead and have a unit with Soulbound Arcana, and then 5 units on your team go ahead and use their ults, bam, you have the full effect ready to go. Now you have Asclepius. I'm probably butchering the name, but this is the piece and set that will go ahead and be upgraded into Invigoration. Mind you, Invigoration comes from Gear Raid 2, right? So that piece will go ahead and be transformed into Invigoration, which is super nice. You also have the Insight. The Insight is going to go ahead and get upgraded into, I believe Insight gets upgraded to Infernal Roar, right? And then you also have the Wisdom, which goes ahead and gets upgraded to Soulbound Arcana. You have the Doom set, which isn't really used at all. Genuinely speaking, it's just not. Hawkeye is also not used at all. You have Mana Spring. This is kind of like very niche. You might use Mana Spring for units such as Mari or Greed if you're really trying to like front load them for CC. And then you also have Fracture. Fracture is honestly just not used at all within this game, at least within any comms that are relevant right now. So that's the kind of quick summation of the gear raids, right? Gear raid 2, really quickly, is kind of like a tank check. So you see units like the Northerner faction, you see Baron from the Nightmare faction, Decimus, which is super important. He's probably the best rare in the game. Super common as well, is used in Gear Raid 2. He makes the content 10 billion times easier. And then you have Gear Raid 3, which is kind of like a piercer check. Like, do you have a Silas? Do you have a Setram? Do you have a Hotsit, a Laura, a Nyx, a Razak? The list truly goes on. But Gear Raid 3, piercers, right? Marksman. Gear Raid 2, tanks. Gear Raid 1, mages. That's the easiest way to just think about it. So, Gear Dungeon 1. Let's just kind of quickly go through it. Gear Dungeon 1 is one of the easier pieces of content when it comes to like gear dungeons in general. Mind you, there's 2. But Gear Dungeon 1 is once again like a tank check, an anti-heal check, and a long-range fighter check. Those 3 are the main boxes, right? And then kind of like a mage check as well, because you do need a strong mage to go ahead and handle the bottom side. You get a lot of sets from this. You get Wings of Grace. Realistically speaking, no one uses it. Cataclysm, not really that usable. It has some good uses with certain units. Astral Guardian, this is the new best right side set for tanks. It's disgusting. You get 30% HP, 15% defense. It is a just direct upgrade over Immortal Warrior. It's just a direct upgrade. About 5% increase on both of those stats. So it's just better. Tempered Will, I personally think Tempered Will is the best right side set. Oh wait, apologies. Astral Guardian's left side, Tempered Will's right side, right? So Tempered Will is the upgrade of the Guardian set. You get 15% damage reduction, and for each enemy blocked, increases defense by 5%, so 20% in totality, ideally if you're using a Bastion Ring. So just amazing set overall. Hell's Lament, not really that common, just going to be frank with you. Morale, really good, however, it's just not that common. Light's Grace, good, but not really used. And then Wicked Vengeance, probably quickly rising in popularity because of the BP that you go ahead and receive by using this set. It's actually disgusting, especially because most of the exclusive gear is Wicked Vengeance. So that's why this kind of set is rising in popularity. Then you go to Gear Dungeon 2. It's the same pieces, just different content. Gear Dungeon 2 is kind of best way to put it. It's do you have a Nightmare faction? Do you have Northerners? Do you have Piercers? Do you have a tank? Do you have Estra? Like the best way to put it is Gear Dungeon 2 is very difficult content if you have the wrong units. If you have the perfect units, like you have a Ancient Lord, not Ancient Lord, you have a King Horrors, you have a lot of Northerner units, you have a Torador as well, this content's easier. But without those 2, it's a little bit difficult. So those are the gear raids, right? Now you also have promotion raids. Promotion raids are a lot easier because it's quite simply, here's how you go ahead and get the promotion materials for your units, right? Super simple. Don't even need to really explain it. It's just that simple. It's probably going to be the first piece of content that you complete. It's just really that easy. Then you go ahead and you look at the resource raids. Now, honestly speaking, there's 2 of these, and there's only one of them that you need to ever care about. And can you guess what it is? XP raids. No one ever should do the gold raids. It is a waste of your stamina, like it genuinely is. And the reason for that is because you can change gear without any cost in this game. And in addition to that, you go ahead and you make so much gold in this game just by playing it, right? You get a significant amount of gold from completing your Void Rift, which we'll explain in a little bit. You get a lot of gold from selling gear. You get a lot of gold just from running the stages in general, right? So you don't need to care about gold raid. Only care about XP raid, and only do XP raid if you're able to go ahead and stack it with, let's see here, these XP bonuses, right? And let's see here. There's the second one. So only do XP raids essentially once per week and you'll be fine, right? Additionally, don't upgrade your units until the week end, because you'll typically go ahead and have a hero training event or a corridor of glory, which will go ahead and give you like additional rewards. So don't upgrade your units until the weekend, right? Fortunately, this game has a really easy upgrading system. So you just go ahead and do as I did, right? You go to heroes, quick star up, press this button, bam, instantly upgraded. It's just doing it for me, right? So it uses my gold, which is 10k, that is nothing, and then 59.7 to go ahead and upgrade these 10 units to the next stage, right? Super, super easy. So just once again, right? Don't farm gold raid. No matter what you do, just don't do it. All right, so we kind of touched on it, but Tide is really simple. I can't show you anything about Tide right now because I've already completed it, but essentially it's just you line up your units and a massive just wall of units just goes ahead and attacks you. You either survive it or you don't, right? The easiest way to kind of progress through Tide, generally speaking, is to go ahead and let's see here. You would go ahead and you would ungear all of your heroes, right? Quick unequip all of your heroes. And then you start to quick equip them, and it will go ahead and equip the highest BP for that unit based off of your outstanding gear that you have not put on that character, that hero, right? Tide is based off of BP more so than anything else. That's all it looks at. If your BP is higher, you're probably going to win. If your BP is close, you're probably going to win. If your BP is significantly below, you're probably going to lose, right? So that's the easiest way to just beat Tide. Just unequip all your heroes, equip them, like quick equip them, and then just run it down. That's all you need to do. So here we go into Arena. Arena is probably the most difficult for a free-to-play player, just genuinely speaking. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? The reason why is because with Arena, you will have to essentially go against, and this isn't that bad, right? These teams are really easy, but you'll go ahead and challenge a lot of players that have played this game for a really, really long time, right? Really long time. So we just recently had a recent Andromeda Plateau, which is whatever. We were in Overlord before, so who cares? But basically, you have all these different stages, Bronze 1, Bronze 2, Bronze 3, and it goes all the way up until Apex Overlord, right? Now, there's good rewards, as you can see, by going ahead and completing the content, right? By attacking these teams, it's just overall easy. However, just don't be discouraged. Like, genuinely, just don't be discouraged if you're playing this game for a long time and there's a couple of challenges that you face, right? In my opinion, the most free-to-play friendly set of battles is a single target, right? Mind you, there are some units, Valdron in particular, which I love, is going to dominate and is just very strong. That's just factual, just very strong. However, AoE and anti-air, as you can see, Ingrid, Praetus, Ajax, Ingrid, Praetus, Cyrene, Ajax, like there are some units in this game, those two in particular, and then Valdron's a close third, that are more pay friendly, right? Most people that pay tend to have those units. So single target, you can push to Overlord without having these very premier lords. That's all you need to know, right? If you go ahead and actually consistently play the game, you will go ahead and get to Overlord with relative ease, and then you don't have to worry about it ever again, right? You can very genuinely get to Overlord and forget about Arena for the rest of the week. Most people do not attack Overlord teams once you get to Overlord. Most people just don't care to, right? So essentially, you go ahead and set up your teams, you go ahead and attack people, and you just run it down, right? So very simple. You even have the ability to refresh who you are going to go against. And so you can kind of snipe teams if you really need to / want to. Okay, so that's Arena. Guild v Guild. Now, Guild v Guild is my favorite piece of content, just personally speaking, right? Guild v Guild is free to play friendly, but just like Arena, worse than Arena in my opinion, there is a limit to how far you can push, right? With Arena, it's all you. It's 100% you, right? So you can push as far as you can / want to in Arena based off of your units. Guild v Guild, however, we're in Overlord right now, but Guild v Guild is very much based off of what units do you have, what units does your guild have, and how much time have you put into the game. So realistically speaking, it is not difficult to get to Platinum, right? Platinum is top 25, Platinum 2 is top 15, Platinum 3 is top 5%. Realistically speaking, this is not difficult to achieve. There are many guilds. Notice, there's 1,310 guilds, at least in Plat 1. So you could definitely get to Plat 1 if you just play the game, if you just farm, and here is how you kind of farm, right? Wow, there's a lot. So let's just go through it. So if you're going to go ahead and farm for Demon Soldiers, which is what you use in Guild v Guild to progress, right? You have a massive list of these units that are present here. These units all have different skill sets. They're used differently, and I've made a video about all the Demon Soldiers, right? But basically, in short, you farm Demon Soldiers through the gear raids. The gear raids will go ahead and provide you with different Demon Soldiers. This is gear raid 1. This is going to be gear raid 2. And then this is going to be gear raid 3. Right? So I've already made a video as to which ones are really good. Spoiler alert, I'll just kind of speed it up. Night of Destruction, Axes, Dogs. Those are your premier 3. Archers and Tank Busters is what we kind of refer to them as, are your like second tier. Gear raid 2. Shadowcasters are like really good. However, if we're going to go and say these are the premier, it is going to be Lightning Guard, the Fool, the Fallen Templar, the Pharaoh Guard, the Scalekin Shaman. Those are your premier units. Your Shadowcaster, your Merkling Menace, and then your Infernal Clerk. Those are your kind of like secondaries. Also, the Skeleton Garden is very niche, has use, and then the Lizardfly Imago is very niche as well, but it has use. Then finally, Gear Raid 1, which is the most interesting, is you have the Necromancer. That is your number 1 by far best unit. Best unit from this. You then have the Bookkeeper, the Uncommon Destroyer, probably is your top 2. And then you have the Demon Soldier. I'm not going to say that name because I don't want to get demonetized. And then you have your Abyssal Beholder as your kind of next set. Additionally, realistically speaking, every single unit, now that I'm like looking at it, every single unit besides these two, Scourge and the White Tower Scholar, have use in Guild v Guild. They all just do, right? You don't get any Demon Soldiers from Gear Dungeon 1 or Gear Dungeon 2. So, those are the Demon Soldiers. you can push to platinum, right, relatively easily, especially if you have guildmates that actually care a little bit, like a little bit about Guild v Guild. You'll be able to get there. However, this is the free-to-play conundrum, right? You need stamina, a lot of stamina, to go ahead and push for Guild v Guild. That's just a fact, right? We didn't, like, my guild isn't in Overlord because we didn't spend. We kind of had to, right? To go ahead and compete at this level. You want to be very choosy with the stamina and with your runs, and that comes from seeding, right? Now, I'll just kind of briefly, really quickly explain seeds. So, for example, let's just go ahead and put this down. Let's go ahead and do a 70 run. I'm going to put it as a background run. And what I would do is I would wait until 10 runs have completed, right? Typically 10 runs. And if I don't get a demon soldier within those first 10 runs, I am going to end it like I just did and restart it. And my hope is that I'll restart it, and my next 10 runs, I get a demon soldier. And then I'll let the runs continue, because I've officially gotten a demon soldier seed, which means, hey, I'm much more likely to get more demon soldiers as these runs progress. Now, you can do that with gear. Gear seeds are the same thing. You run a 10, see if you get an ancient piece, let it run through if you do. Or you get a bullion, let it run through if you do, right? And similar to the materials, you can get the spirits, you can get the diamonds, you can get stamina, you can get ancient shard fragments. So if you get any of those, you're on a resource seed, and you can just kind of let it run through as well. And that's how you go ahead and use seeding in this, right? To be very, very maximum efficiency. Because you're not spending money. So if you're not spending money, you got to be really efficient if you want to go ahead and kind of compete anywhere in Guild v Guild. That's just unfortunately the truth. Now, that is not me even discussing the popular units in Guild v Guild. I'll also be honest. The popular units in Guild v Guild are very spend likely, right? So I'll explain that a little bit later when I go over like when to summon, but they're typically, hey, you just spent some money to go ahead and get this unit, right? I'm talking about Ingrid, Praetus, Cyrus, Ardea, Carnelian, like units like that. Ymrit, I can't even forget Ymrit. Or you're kind of like, hey, I just spent some money, right? So, just a heads up. But you can push in Guild v Guild to Platinum. So you can enjoy the content. And get really good rewards in the process as well, right? Let's just kind of briefly show the rewards. So, this is Overlord. In Platinum, you get all of these rewards, right? And these are just for individual wins, right? If you go to the season rewards, let's go ahead and show this. You get the 600 diamonds, guild coins, ancient summons, blah, blah, blah. You get some really good rewards, right? Just for playing the game. Realistically speaking, the difference between Platinum and Overlord is really not that much. So, that's the good part. If you want to actually increase your BP, here's how you do it. As I mentioned, right? Ageless Wrath is the best set for increasing your BP. Just factual. So what you want to do is you want to spend a significant amount of your time. If you're trying to be efficient, you want to spend like 90% of your time farming Gear Raid 2. You really want to go ahead and push for as much Ageless Wrath as you possibly can, so that whenever you go ahead and you attack, whenever you affiliate your units, they have the highest BP possible, right? And the way to go ahead and kind of maximize your BP, similarly to how you did it for Tide, you go ahead, I personally unequip all my heroes, right? All of them. And then I just quick equipped the ones that I know have the highest BP. And I know that just because of playing the game, right? Then I go ahead and I save it. I go ahead and save the plans here. So I have the unit instantly. So whenever I pull it up in the game, I can just go to the quick change, go to my save setting for that BP. Bam, done. good to go, ready to go ahead and attack. So that is how you be maximum efficient with kind of gearing your units, how to maximize your BP, and how to just farm in the game, right? Now, another thing, if you're trying to increase your BP, is to go ahead and do Artifact Material Raid, which is right here. Artifact Material Raid is also one of those raids that you go ahead and complete for the Vulcan missions. Super easy up until stage 18. Once you get to 19, 20, 21, 22, that's where it gets a little bit more difficult. However, realistically speaking, you can go ahead and complete it. Personal opinion, I don't really think it's that valuable to go ahead and do a lot of Artifact Material Raid runs when we're talking about like stage 22, 19, and all that. Yes, you get exclusive gear. However, from my experience, the chances of you going ahead and pulling a Hex artifact over pulling a really good Ageless Wrath piece for your BP, vastly different. If you're trying to go ahead and complete content in the game and you're less focused about guild v guild, then run Artifact Material Raid, run your Gear Raid 3, just run it down, just focus on that. If you don't care about guild v guild, that's more than fine. If you don't care about guild v guild, do Gear Raid 3 a lot, do Gear Raid 1 a lot, do Artifact Material Raid a lot. That's how you'll go ahead and kind of progress your account. So, Guild Boss 1, Guild Boss 2. Guild Boss 1, pretty simple overall, right? You have Drake's Chasm. The best way to put this is you have a select amount of time to go ahead and beat a dragon. It's not that difficult. Gear Raid or Gear Dungeon 2, which is not Gear Dungeon 2, Guild Boss 2. Guild Boss 2, which is Semra. Semra is late game content, right? There's a lot of strategy involved with beating Semra. You need a cleanser, you need damage, and there really is just way too much to go through to effectively explain how to progress in Semra, because it's really unit dependent. It just, unfortunately, that's just it, right? It's unit dependent. Void Rift. Void Rift in this game is probably one of the best ways still to this day to acquire resources, right? So here we go. These are the resources that you go ahead and get from completing Void Rift. Now, it's relatively nice because it's a very consistent way to get diamonds, ancients, gleaming meteorite, which is this, which you go ahead and use to make your exclusive gear, your exclusive artifacts for your heroes, right? You get diamonds, you get master keys, you get legendary skill crystals, just overall a lot of resources just by going ahead, beating a couple of stages, a couple of bosses, I believe it's 3 bosses, and it's simple, right? It might take you some time, but trust me, the second that you get that thumbs up in the game to beat Void Rift, it means the game believes that you have the ability to complete it. Now, mind you, it might be really hard, but the rewards from completing Void Rift and being able to consistently complete it will turbocharge your account very quickly. It's probably the best thing to do every single week, start of the week. Just go ahead and beat it. You will benefit tremendously by doing so. Now, summoning. This is a gacha. It literally is just a gacha, right? So what you have to do, and from what I've seen from free-to-play players that were able to reach Overlord in Arena, what I've been able to see from just seeing people just play the game, right? And I largely don't really pay for this game in general. Like, I personally don't care to. But the most important thing is to be very, very strategic with your summons, right? Now, mind you, if you want to be a PvE player, which is totally fine, right? What, as I said, you can complete every piece of content in this game without spending $1. If you want to be PvE, do so. Like, please, like, genuinely go ahead and do so. But be aware of what you're summoning for, what you're using your soul stones for, what you're using every single resource for. Because at the end of the day, this game kind of breaks out into 2 separate games. Guild v Guild in Watcher of Realms, right? So what I mean by that is every single thing that you do for Guild v Guild, if you're focused on it, looks very different than the PvE. Because in Guild v Guild, Ageless Wrath is king, so that means you're running a lot of Gear Raid 2. For PvE, Gear Raid 3 is king because you want as much godlike Soulbound Arcana Infernal Roar pieces that you can get your hands on, right? You don't really care about Demon Soldiers as well. So what does that mean? Whenever you're summoning, think about it. Is Leia going to help my account progress in PvE? The answer is no, but Ingrid will, right? Ingrid's going to help you. Is Nyx going to help me progress in content more than Sargak? Answer is yes. Nyx will help you more than Sargak because Nyx provides long-range AoE damage, which you can use for the Immortal Codexes and things like this, which you should 1000% do Immortal Codex any single chance you get. Do this every single week, and you will benefit tremendously because of all the resources that you get from it. Always grab the Ancients. That's the first thing to grab. Ancients are the most valuable resource in this game. And I've kind of tracked each banner. Every 3 to 4 months, a very good banner comes out. So what I recommend is save your Ancients for 3 months at a time and see what unit is potentially going to be a banner. Based off of that, assess where am I? What type of content do I want to go and pursue? And then summon based off of that information. I know it sucks, right? Because you want to summon every single time. But as a free-to-play player, you have to be very strategic with your summons and strategic with your stamina, right? Now, when I say strategic with your stamina, you can go ahead and buy stamina with your diamonds. However, you're limited on your diamonds because you're not paying. So think about it before you go ahead and run it, right? And if you have the ability, if you want to be smart, only buy stamina when it shows up in the shop here, right? That's the best way to go ahead and acquire stamina for a lower cost. Save your diamonds. So with that, just be cautious whenever you're going to summon. Who are you summoning for? And then finally, you have your Odyssey quest. Odyssey quest is essentially how you go ahead and get in it. You get a polished soul stone and get a lot of rewards. Now with this, that is kind of later game content. It takes a while to go ahead and complete everything in the Odyssey quest, but man, is it valuable. You get a lot of resources, you get a hero at the end of it, you benefit tremendously from completing it. So in short, right, just to summarize the free-to-play experience, you can play this game 1000% without dropping $1. You really can. What I personally recommend is go ahead and think about it. Do I want to be a Guild v Guild player? If the answer is yes, Gear Raid 2, maximum efficiency with your stamina. When are you farming? Look for seeds. It's a different game. It really is. I personally love it, but it's a different game and you might not enjoy it. If you want to go ahead and do the PvE content, awesome. Dude, congrats. You can do everything and relax. You don't need to worry about maximum efficiency. You can summon when you want. You can do whatever you want because at the end of the day, you truly can maintain Platinum in Guild v Guild and Overlord in Arena, or at least Platinum 3 in Arena with relative ease, right? You really can. So just think about it. What are you trying to get out of this game? And this game will give you what you're looking for. It really will. So with that, right, there's a lot more to kind of explain and go over. So let's just kind of blitz through it really quick. If there's anything that comes to my mind, I'll just let it be known, right? Interestingly enough, there's a Rygar banner, so I guess kind of perfect timing, right? Rygar just got released. We'll see how good he is as a unit. I'm personally curious myself to see how relevant he is. But this is the events tab. If you haven't seen it, right, they go ahead and show you at least a week ahead as to what the banners will be. You get to see all the content that's kind of going to be pouring into the game. It's kind of nice. Very, very helpful overall, right? And then finally, let's see here. Summons. You can kind of keep tabs as to how much you've summoned. That's the nice part. They give you a very clear-cut breakdown as to what you received. Gives you information about the pity timer, blah, blah, blah. But once again, right? If you're summoning, summon wisely. Be cognizant as to why are you playing this game? What are you trying to get out of this game? And then finally, is there anything else that I can think of? Not necessarily. If anything, just have fun, right? This game is a game for you to just have fun, just play it. And if you want to be free to play, just do it. See ya.